In a world where carbs are your enemy, you need one man to help you fight your battles. That man is Jimmy.
Combating nutrition disinformation and general bull. It's Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com.
Yeah, getting healthier, trying to start. You heard all the ketonians talk. Kiss my keto, high in fat. Oh yeah, low carb, check it out. So official, nothing used that's artificial. Products full of electrolytes. Raise your ketones, get you right. Woo! Everything on the label, oh yeah, 100%. What's listed is what you get. From the foods to supplements. Healthy mix of all the fats, few carbs. I'ma be real, and the new ketogenic bar. It's a meal that'll get you far. Yeah, kissmyketo.com. Use LLVLC for 20% off. $50 purchase or more on one order. Yeah.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And we're here with another episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. Here's how the show works. We start off over on Instagram and do a couple of live videos every single day. So go follow me on Instagram. I'm Living Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, you can engage live in the content just like Joshua, Gaps Diet Mom, Peace, Love, and Bacon Grease, Sherry, and so many others coming in right now. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours. But after 24 hours, you will have to go to YouTube. That's where we house all the past episodes in archived form. Just type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants, either on YouTube or a Google search. You will find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show are in podcast form over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. Go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, by the way. That would really help us out for the Jimmy Rants podcast. All of these links, you guys, are at JimmyRants.com. Today's Jimmy Rants is in response to all of those news stories that I've been covering lately on Jimmy Rants that like to describe a low-carb, high-fat, ketogenic diet as a fad. And we're seeing it again and again and again. And of course, they use the three-letter F word to try to disparage keto. And so I thought, okay, let me go look up to see if anybody has helped to define how you determine whether a nutritional modality is a fad or not. So I have found one such resource, and the source of it is Pennington Nutrition Series. Okay, and so they talk about fad diets defined, and they give 12 questions that you can ask yourself to determine if a diet is a fad or not. You guys interested in hearing what they have to say about how you go through and have a litmus test for whether or not something is a fad? So what I want to talk about here today is why is low-carb keto labeled a fad diet when so many of us have seen it actually work in our lives, not just work in the sense of producing weight loss, but work in the sense that it's healed our bodies. So you guys want to hear what the Pennington Nutrition Series has to say about what a fad diet is? Here we go. Fad diets can take on many forms, they say. They make dieting and weight loss seem so easy. To help you determine whether or not a diet is a fad, ask yourself the following 12 questions. So here's number 1. Does it ask you to eliminate one or several food groups? Okay. Of course, that is a shot at carbohydrates, because when you eat a low-carb diet, they have made this claim that you eliminate a whole food group. But let's walk that through a little bit. What real whole foods contain lots and lots and lots of carbohydrates that your body needs? Can anybody name a single carbohydrate-based food that if you didn't eat that food, you would die? Anybody? Oh, that's right. There isn't one. There is no such thing as a carbohydrate that you must eat or you die. But you bet your sweet bippy there are essential fats that if you didn't eat, you would die. And there are also essential amino acids, proteins, that if you didn't eat, you would die. There is no requirement for the human body to have any carbohydrates at all. Now, that doesn't mean you can't include them. And they also, by saying eliminating one or several food groups, the connotation is when you eat low carb, you've just cut out a whole food group. I would argue most of the carbohydrate-based foods that are cut out by low-carb dieters is not food. It's food like disease agents. It's what I like to refer to as crappy garbage. And so, who doesn't want to eliminate that? Is that disease promoting or disease preventing? And I would say it's the former, not the latter. So if you're just joining us, I am talking about this whole concept that we've heard lately of low-carb keto diets being labeled a fad diet. And I'm countering that, saying, why would we call something a fad when it actually works? And so I actually looked up a definition of fad diets from this group called Pennington Nutrition Series. And they have 12 different things that help you as a consumer define what a fad diet is. And so their first one was, does it ask you to eliminate one or several food groups? So that's a shot at carbohydrates. But I just blasted that one out of the water by revealing that your body really has no need for carbohydrates. So eliminate away. Number 2, does the diet promise quick results such as lose 5 or more pounds of weight per week? Okay, so I don't put an emphasis on weight loss at all with keto. Low carb keto, the very last thing that I think a low carb ketogenic diet is about is weight loss at all. Quick, slow, whatever. To me, low carb keto is a health modality. And so many of you have started it for the brain health benefits. Some of you have done it for some disease state like epilepsy. Others of you have type 2 diabetes and want to bring that under control and get off your need for insulin and diabetes medications. That is your why. That is why you do it. Not some grand promise of losing 5 pounds or more per week of weight. So if they're trying to define keto in that way, low carb keto, that doesn't apply either. Number 3, are there several personal testimonies that are used as a proof of effectiveness? Now, this was a funny one to me because they pretend like success stories aren't used by every single diet that's ever been out there. You watch the Nutrisystem commercials and they all say, okay, here's our success stories doing Nutrisystem. You watch Weight Watchers commercials. Oh, I did Weight Watchers and it was the best thing ever. I love bread. Every diet has success stories and personal testimonies that show it works for those people. Now, just because you have testimonies, does that mean there's no science supporting it? That's preposterous. But they're making it out to seem like that if you have personal testimonies that show the efficacy of your diet, that it's a fad diet. And I'm saying you can have both evidence in the scientific world, which low-carb keto does, along with personal testimonies. And why shouldn't someone who's found success doing some nutritional modality, why shouldn't they shout it from the mountaintops and claim that they're a success story? Nothing wrong with that. But they think that defines a fad diet. Number 4, does the diet use only certain foods that offer a special advantage for weight loss? So I'm trying to think what they would apply with a ketogenic diet there. Special foods that give you an advantage for weight loss. The only thing I can think of is dietary fat would be the special food within the context of a ketogenic diet. But I suppose there are other truly fad diets that they say, oh, take this one superfood and it'll solve all your woes. We have seen that out there. Kale, blueberries, all this kind of stuff. And people think that if they just eat a bunch of those things, it provides some benefit. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Number 5, does the diet recommend supplements or pills as part of the plan? Why wouldn't they? This is one that's kind of frustrating to me because I get the pills part. Diet pills and you'll lose weight. Take this supplement and it provides this benefit, blah, blah, blah. I get that there's ways that this can be done bad, but just simply taking supplementation along with some nutritional health plan, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's actually pretty prudent. For some people, there's deficiencies even with eating real whole foods because the ground has been so depleted. You need to supplement. Plus, our bodies have not responded well. Maybe you need to supplement with some vitamin D. Maybe you need to supplement with some magnesium. Maybe you have some deficiency where a supplement could be helpful. So to simply mock a diet because it has supplements that are a part of it, that's no reason to call it a fad diet. So if you're just joining us, we're going over these 12 things by Pennington Nutrition Series, where they are defining what a fad diet is, because we've been reading a lot lately in a lot of these columns that I've been sharing here on Jimmy Rants, where they're calling the ketogenic diet a fad diet. And so we're looking up what is a fad diet. And we're kind of going through this litmus test of at least this Pennington Nutrition Series to see what they're talking about. And my argument here today is, why is low-carb keto labeled a fad diet when it's actually working to produce both weight and health benefits? All right, so we are up to number 6. Is the diet written or advertised by a celebrity? Why are we dissing on celebrities? Halle Berry is speaking out quite prominently right now about how a ketogenic diet has helped her in her health. Al Roker from the Today Show is doing the same thing. He's been prominently talking about his weight loss and health benefits that he's seen from eating keto. Just because a celebrity latches on to some diet does not make it a fad. Now, it may proliferate whatever the diet is, and if it's some cockamamie diet that's not effective and they're promoting it, I agree that that could make it a fad. But just because a celebrity latches on to a diet and finds success doing it, we're going to blast the diet and call it a fad? That don't make any sense. Number 7, is there any scientific evidence that the combination of foods or methods in the diet actually work? In the case of keto, you bet your sweet bippy there is lots and lots of good science. In fact, there's a current trial going on by Dr. Sarah Hallberg out of Indiana. This is part of the Virta Health group, and they actually presented the 1-year results of their study that looked at both obesity and type 2 diabetes, and it was great results, you guys, last year. And they're coming up this year on the 2-year mark of that trial, and pretty remarkable stuff coming out. And that's just the latest. We have tons of research supporting a carbohydrate-restricted ketogenic approach to health. So yes, there is evidence supporting keto. Number 8, is exercise minimized as a weight loss aid? Newsflash. Weight loss does not produce or is not produced by exercise. I just said that out loud, but you heard me right. There is no evidence that engaging in exercise leads to weight loss. Now, that's a controversial statement. People like Gary Taubes has been saying that since he released his book, Good Calories, Bad Calories. What exercise does is it enables you to eat more calories, more food, and not have consequences to your weight. But exercise in and of itself is not an effective weight loss tool, not near to the level of diet manipulation and diet control. That is what helps to produce weight loss, along with stress management, good sleep, all of the other kind of lifestyle issues. But this whole calories in, calories out, they're still stuck on it. This Pennington Nutrition series, they must still be stuck on this whole idea that in order to lose weight, you have to exercise. Is exercise a bad thing? By no means. I think you should be exercising, but not for the weight loss benefits. You get it for the cardiovascular benefits. You get it for the stress reduction benefits. There's so many benefits that go far beyond the weight management part of it, that for them to put in there, if exercise is minimized as a weight loss aid, the only purpose of putting that in there is they think that it's calories in, calories out. But I don't think that makes keto, low-carb keto, a fad, simply because it does not heavily emphasize the exercise part as a weight loss tool. If you're just joining us, we're going over these 12 definitions, these questions that this Pennington Nutrition series say you need to ask yourself to determine if a diet like a low-carb ketogenic diet is a fad diet. So we are up to the number 9 on this list question. Did the diet gain quickly in popularity and then fade away? The first use of a ketogenic diet, even before they even knew it was called ketones or even came up with the term ketogenic, the first use was way back in the 1860s when this guy named William Banting wrote a book called Letter on Corpulence. It became the very first best-selling diet book in the world. And it was this guy that went on a low-carb diet, and it changed his life immensely. And then that led to some of the research looking into what is going on when you go on a carbohydrate-restricted diet with more fats in it. So in the early 1920s, 1921 specifically, researchers started looking in the lab, and they could see these compounds. And they were like, oh, well, we need to identify what these are when you don't eat. Basically, they found it in patients that were fasting. And what they discovered was ketones. And so they started naming the ketones, and they called when you eat a diet that produces ketones, that's low in carbs, moderate in protein, high in fat, they called that a ketogenic diet. 1921! What is that, 98 years ago? Yeah, that's a fad diet. The diet gained quickly in popularity and then fade away. It has been off and on used since 1921. First off as a treatment for epileptic children before we had epilepsy drugs come along. The anticonvulsant drugs came in the late 1930s. There was this guy, ironically named Pennington, in the 50s that used a low-carb approach with the employees at DuPont that helped them get healthy. That was the work that actually inspired Dr. Atkins to do his work that came out in the early 1970s and went all the way to the early 2000s. And then ketogenic had been researched since the late 90s and into today, where keto is ruling the roost. So if you want to call keto, low-carb keto, a fad because it, quote, gained quick in popularity and then faded away, it's never faded away. And even after this current trend of keto does start to wane a bit, and it will, there will still be people that will do low carb. There will still be people that do keto. I started a brand 15 years ago called Livin' La Vida Low Carb. This ain't no fad. This is going strong, and it will continue to go strong for a while. Number 10. Does the diet provide a list of foods that can be eaten and others that must be eliminated? That's just called prudent. Why would you call a diet? Now, I know there is this, and I've got another news story in here somewhere that's called the F-It diet. that eat whatever you want, it really doesn't matter. I'm like, is that really going to help you lose weight and get healthy? No. But any prudent diet is going to try to remove the culprit foods that caused you to get fat and sick to begin with. So for them to put in there, does the diet provide list of foods that can be eaten and others that must be eliminated? It better if it wants to be effective. And so it's kind of ludicrous that they would even put that in there. Oh, this is part of a fad diet. Because you want to remove things. Now, here's what I would say. Is there a list of foods that you should absolutely never eat? You bet there is. Refined carbohydrates, fast food, refined oils. If you remove those, they're not food. That's the thing. They want to talk about removing foods and having a list of foods that you eat and others that are eliminated. You're not eating food when you have those food-like disease agents. You're not. And so if you're not eating those foods, why is that a bad thing? I don't know. Number 11, is there any research data that's presented, sponsored by the company publishing the diet? Is there external review provided by other researchers? So what this is about is a lot of diets that come out, all of the research in support of it is paid for in-house. And this is something that Dr. Atkins ran into in the late 90s when Dr. Eric Westman did the very first diet trial of the Atkins ketogenic diet. And it was paid for by Dr. Atkins. And so because it was paid for by Dr. Atkins, it's automatically dismissed. And of course, what's happened is because Dr. Westman did that study and a lot of studies after that, so many others became interested in it. And now we're getting that external review provided by other researchers. We're getting lots of third-party research into the efficacy scientifically of a ketogenic diet. But they say because the research presented is sponsored by the company that published the diet, if they're not willing to research things like keto, can you blame somebody like a Dr. Atkins when he was still around, God bless his soul? Can you blame him for wanting to pour money into studies that would show that his diet has provenness, efficacy in the research realm? Absolutely you would. And now because he was willing to do that, lots of people are looking into the ketogenic diet. And this is the fun part, you guys. Even after the huge, blowing up of keto in our culture over the past few years, what that has done now is it's fueled research into this. So long after all of the keto fanaticism that's out there right now starts to wane down a little bit, we're going to get a whole bunch of studies. I cannot wait. We may see a second resurgence of keto once some of those studies start to come out. And this is the fun part too. The reason kind of keto came along is back in the early 2000s, the Atkins diet ruled the roost with people like Dr. Westman and others starting to look closer at it. And all of that research that started trickling out, even after the Atkins diet faded in popularity, all of that research kind of came along in the 10 years after that, which coincides with why keto kind of started coming along. And we're going to see the same thing, you guys. It's 2019. A lot of research going on right now. Who's to say if keto starts to wane by like 2021, in 2024, 2025, we see a resurgence because all of this data starts to come out. I say bring on the data, let it come out, and let's make keto the diet. Let's get rid of the default diet being low fat, high grain. We've had enough of that, and it's nonsense to so many of us. To me, the true fad diet has been the low fat diet because it has failed time and time and time again to produce lasting results in our weight and our health. All right, one more, you guys. Number 12. Do the results simply sound too good to be true? Well, why is that the fault of the diet? if the results sound too good to be true, and a lot of you guys that came to keto, you heard about people coming off of diabetes medications, dropping their A1C below 5.5 when it's been 8, 9, 10, 11, coming off of medications, losing quite a bit of weight. You hear people sharing those kinds of stories on social media. And so when you first hear about keto, it does sound too good to be true. But does that in and of itself mean that it's an invalid nutritional plan, that it's a fad diet? I don't think so. And yet that's part of their litmus test. Again, if you just joined us, we're reading through Pennington Nutrition Series has defined what a fad diet is. And we've been hearing keto being described, low-carb ketogenic diets being described as a fad in a lot of news stories lately. So I wanted to see, what is a fad? And when low-carb keto is actually working for people to give them benefit, why call it a fad? Losing weight permanently is difficult, but it can be done. It takes determination, calorie counting, lifestyle changes, along with smart food choices. So that's what they said in their article, and they did have a whole section on low carbohydrate, high fat diets. And their concern is about how high it is in fat, that it's two times the recommended level of fat intake. Protein is 3 to 4 times greater than normal. You lose weight quickly on this, but it's a very dangerous diet to be doing. Blah, 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 blah. So they have a bias. So the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants, guys, we're going to hear a lot of people, and especially in these coming years as keto continues to be popular, they're going to try to blast it as a fad diet. And you have to remind people, why would you call a perfectly healthy, low-carb, ketogenic plan as a fad diet if it's actually working to produce both weight loss and health gains? It makes no sense at all. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Middle of a 4 says the ancestral diet. Nope, not a fad in my book. Yeah, it was so funny when the paleo diet came out. There were a lot of people, oh, that latest fad is the paleo. I'm like, yeah, tell that to hunter-gatherer ancestors over 10,000 years ago. Traveling keto cat, gotta go, but just wanted to say hi, love you, and hugs. Oh, I'm sorry I missed you, cat. Thanks for being here. Val says, by some of the descriptions, the vegan, low-fat, high-carb diets are fads as well. Yeah, they did in the full paper acknowledge that there are that a low-fat diet could fall into this same category. Of course, they were talking about like starvation-styled, very low-fat diets, very low-calorie diets. They did not mention vegan or vegetarianism in there at all. And I think those could probably fall into the category because they eliminate a whole category of real whole foods, meat. There's no animal food, so that could easily be labeled as a fad diet as well. The whole mama says we need studies. Yeah, we're getting them. They're coming. They are coming. I know it's slow going. Sometimes we want to see it kind of progress along a lot faster than it does, but it's coming. The research is coming. Make keto king, says Val. Isn't it king? It's king of the roost right now, at least in our culture. But wouldn't it be great if we no longer have to have the default diet when people want to try to lose weight and get healthy be low fat? Wouldn't it be awesome if people just automatically defaulted to a low carb diet and then tweak all the rest of the macros and everything from there? We could definitely stand to benefit from carbohydrate restriction. Margaret said, oh, so all that fat is dangerous. My lipid panel's fantastic. This is after coming off of statins and eating all that yummy fat. Go, Margaret. Way to go. Grandma does keto. My husband said this morning that you are Perry Mason, pointing out the ignorant, irrelevant, and immaterial. What's sad is I'm old enough to know what Perry Mason means. There's some that who's Perry Mason? Yeah, I just dated myself. So guys, the bottom line in this Jimmy Rants, when they try to describe a low-carb ketogenic diet as a fad diet, you gently remind them, fads don't work. Fads will potentially harm you. Fads help you lose weight, but you don't keep it off. Fads might change some blood markers, but they eventually get worse again. Most of us that go keto see those markers stay permanently in the good range. And that's pretty cool. Perry Mason is on the retro channels, LOL, says Val. Yeah, Anyway. So guys, that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you missed this and you came in late, please go watch the replay. We talked all about why low-carb keto is not a fad diet. And we went over these 12 questions that said, this is what describes a fad, and they're trying to discredit low-carb keto. But we ain't going to have none of that here on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the web. As always, pop on over there and you'll see that we start off on Instagram. We do a couple of live videos every single day. Go check it out, you guys. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content, just like all my Jimmy Rantsers. Oh, I love you too, San Ketonio Prego. Thanks for that comment. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours on Instagram. After 24 hours, it does disappear. So pop on over to YouTube and you'll be able to see all the past episodes. Type in a keyword search, Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, the best of the best moments of this here show in podcast form is over on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. Definitely go look those up, you guys, under keyword Jimmy Rants on wherever you listen to podcasts. All of these links are located at jimmyrants.com. So until next time, we'll see you then.